Learning to change chords can be super frustrating for beginner guitar players, and being able to do it really well is often what stands in the way of being able to play all of our favorite songs, which is what most of us want to do on this instrument when we first pick it up. So I wanted to jump on here, show you all a really simple but effective exercise that will really help you level up your skills when it comes to changing chords as beginner players. All right, so grab your guitar so we can kind of walk through this together. And yeah, I would say if you put this on the front end of your practice sessions, your playing sessions for the next 4 weeks or so, you will become very, very competent with this skill, and it really will open a lot of doors for your playing. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. I'll show you the chords first, and then I'll show you how to kind of approach this, and then you'll be able to do it on your own, and you'll be able to apply this to all of the songs that you do want to learn. So very, very helpful stuff. We are starting with an open G chord, so we're going to keep it really basic. And we are going to be putting our ring finger down on the 3rd fret of the B string. You can play the G like this with the open B, but we aren't going to do that for this for this exercise. We are going to be putting our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. All right, so that's the first chord. We're then going to go to the open D chord. All right, again, simple enough. We will then go to the C chord. Then we're going to go A minor. Then we're going to go E minor. We're going to go back to the C. Then we're going to go back to the D. That's the last chord kind of in the rotation. And then we'll restart with the G. All right, now that's it. Basic, simple stuff. If you're brand new, listen, our anatomy is different. Each one of us has different shaped palms and fingers and different sizes and all that stuff. So rather than tell you this is the exact right way to hold every chord, I would rather you all focus on what allows you to, let each chord ring out in a full, clear manner, right? So notice my thumb kind of falls over the neck. A lot of teachers would tell you this is wrong, but I find that the chord can ring out nicely. Same with the C shape. I think that rings out, pretty well. However, some of you, if you're doing that, might find that your index finger doesn't press down nicely on the B string. It kind of falls on top of the high E. So all of a sudden, because of the way your fingers are falling over the strings, it doesn't ring out in a clear manner. So you might take your thumb, tuck it back behind the neck, and all of a sudden the chord rings out much clearer. And that's, the way a lot of teachers would probably tell you to play things. But again, you might have big hands and this just might feel more comfortable. That just might be the deal. So your thumb might be a little higher up on the back of the neck. It might be smack in the middle. Give yourself some options. I think that's the best way to do things, to really allow yourself to play in the way that feels most comfortable and that sounds best. But if you're not sure what sounds best, you can also record yourself and really answer the question like, that might not sound as good as I thought it did when I'm playing it. So there's just something to think about when it comes to the actual chords themselves. What I want us to do is just focus on downstrokes. Take out the picking hand, right? Take out any strumming. That can sometimes get in the way of sounding great or really getting better at the skill of changing chords, because we're learning a song, but we're so brand freaking new that when we're focusing on the strum, but then it can sound so fragmented because we're focusing on two things and our brain has not gotten good yet at kind of connecting those two skills. So we're just going to go downstroke. And what I think would be best is, once you feel good with the chords themselves, is to put on a metronome, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Restart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make it really easy on yourself. If that feels good, you can bump up the metronome, right? And you can get faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Restart. Okay? That's really the deal, is that over time you can pick up the pace. You might start where you don't play a metronome. That's what I was saying. Once you feel comfortable with the chords, that's where you can bring in the metronome. If you don't feel comfortable with them yet, don't bring in the metronome. Just work on getting these to sound good. Make sure that they ring out clearly. It'll take you a second at the beginning to transition from chord to chord. That's why you don't want to do it with the metronome in the beginning when you're brand freaking new, or you're new to this exercise, or you're struggling with changing chords. All right, really quick. Notice I can, keep the ring finger down as I transition from G to D. I lift to get to C. But then same thing, I can keep the index finger in that same place as I transition to the A minor. Then E minor is just these two fingers, right? Transitioning, think about the ring and middle. They barely move here to get to the C, and then I just got to put the index finger down. Right? Same thing, index finger doesn't move that much. Ring and middle move a decent amount, and then I restart. So just think about making those things efficient. As you transition from chord to chord. And what I was saying at the beginning of the video or earlier on is you can apply this to any song. Take the strum out at the beginning. When you really want to learn a song perfectly, you need to piece things together slowly. As you get better and better and you learn more complicated songs, that stays the same, right? That rule stays the same. So if you're learning a complicated solo, you want to figure out the notes first, then you want to figure out what is the technique as you speed things up. What are some of the things that, some of the blemishes that you're hitting that you need to clean up, and why is that, and what's the technique behind that? All right. So let's say, Little Wing, for example, instead of strumming, right? I just hang out with that E minor to start. I slowly transition to the G. I slowly transition to the A minor. I slowly transition back to the E minor. Right? And so on and so forth. And that might be a good one for you all because there are 2 bar chords in there. There's a D minor and there's an F. And that could be really helpful for you if you do want to have an idea of a song that you can play around with that has a lot of chords, is a fun one to play around with. If you go to a jam and maybe you got your friend who's good at lead guitar, well, now you can competently play behind them and they can kind of mess around and enjoy your company as a guitar player as well. But that's really the deal. I would say set a 5-minute timer, play through these chords. If you want a reminder of the chords themselves, in the description, I put a PDF that has all of the chords and transitioning. And that's really it. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it brief. Have fun with this. If you did find it helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more good things like this. I appreciate you all for watching. All right. Peace.